So we are in the fight of our lives and we are doing a lot of winning. Are y'all ready to win? We've been so depressed, but we're starting to win more and more. Are you guys ready to win? So, big picture, we've been winning so many elections, special elections, the 2025 elections, we blew it out, overperforming everywhere. Next slide. And Trump's approval is like going down and down and down, and that is really going to hurt them. His political capital is already incredibly diminished due to the hard work we've been doing. We've been mobilizing. We have momentum. Shout out to No Kings coming up March 28th. No Kings is coming up. And we have also been supporting work on the ground, stopping ICE in places like Minnesota. For anyone who knows MVP, you know our roots in Minnesota run deep. We have three key team members on the ground in Minnesota, and they've been building the Minnesota Miracle for years. And over the last month, they've been an intense on the ground situation that is moving the needle in the national conversation, and we've been intensely supporting them. And I want to lift up a quote from my colleague Javier Murillo, who heard this. Yeah, Javier, you didn't know I was going to say this. Who heard this from other cities are now, it's a chant going around. We're not scared. We're not afraid. Minnesota taught us to be brave. And that is the spirit, the spirit of people putting their bodies on the line, on the front lines that we're going to take with us in everything we do. And we have four big jobs over the next couple of years. The first one is to do exactly what Minnesota is doing, blocking autocracy any way we can. The second is we need to win the hugest blue wave in these midterms. That's what this call is about, and that's what we're going to talk about the rest of this time. And if you think, oh, those are in the fall, 7 months from now is when early voting starts. We need to go big. There's a huge Republican advantage in money right now, and we don't have to match that because we have that energy and momentum on our side, but we got to invest big to make sure we have a biggest blue wave that's unstealable. And that will lead us into momentum for part three, winning a convincing Democratic trifecta in 2028 so that we can have a big reset in 2029. Those are our four big jobs. And I want to say, just a little context, you know, we have the momentum right now, but going into 2028 and to actually change things in 2029, we're going to have to do big adaptive change. So MVP, we took the loss in 2024 as a huge learning that we have to do things better on so many levels. Next slide, please. And so we have what MVP is known for is supporting local organizing, which is the foundational level of the cake. And our state teams and our program team are going deep with leveling up the state work with our partners and just having really intensive work on making the state work better, more rigorous. We've done briefings about this. We're going to do more briefings about this in the future. In addition, we added two other layers to the cake, media innovation, collaboration, and meta organizing with allies, which are growing parts of what we call MVP 2.0, having a more holistic strategy. And I just want to leave you with one picture, which is we've been so depressed, we've been so beat down, and every day it's like, it's so bad. And I just want to offer that if we play our cards right, we have a real chance to win things bigger than we can imagine right now. Remember the depths of how bad things were in the Bush years. Do you love this photo? Remember how bad things were in the Bush years when it seemed like they might have, and after 2024, it seemed like we might never get power again and they were just gonna, make things worse and worse and worse. And then you had the unthinkable, a community organizer from the South Side of Chicago, Barack Hussein Obama, became the president and made things way better. I think that the place we're in now and where we need to focus our brains, beginning with the ends in mind, is 2029. We have the opportunity to have the best political turnaround ever and have something that we can't even imagine right now, right? We have all the ingredients. We have an unpopular incumbent. We have the pendulum that's going to swing. We know Trump modeled boldness. The Democrats are like, okay, when we get in power, we're going to have to be bolder than we ever have before. The Supreme Court expanded executive powers so they can do that. We have a mandate for change, and we need to expect the unexpected and set our minds on where we are going, which is a much better country in 2029, and kneecapping all the terrible things he's doing. Just 7 months from now, early vote, 8 months from now, we are going to have the opportunity to do that. This is an all-in moment. Go team. What can you do? We are here to recruit you to be part of this movement that's going to turn things around, to donate and organize like you want to win. And with that, I'm passing it to my incredible colleague, Sarah Chasen Warner, to talk about how we're going to do that.
Hello, hi. My name's Sarah Chasen Warner. I am the co-director for state programs here at Movement Voter PAC. I'm excited to have the opportunity to both be your MC and facilitator today, but also to give an overview of MVP's electoral approach. As you heard from Billy, our guiding principle for making investments this cycle is focused heavily on striking at the heart of autocracy. And there were several strategies that we use here at MVP to do that. And of course, winning elections is part of this effort. And we will win. We have to win. There is no other choice. We have to win. So before I get into 2026, I'm going to go back just a moment to 2025. Our 2025 investments were largely chosen along these lines, targeting races that could make a big positive change in people's lives. That's always the baseline, right? And then second, helping that these races had a role in stopping authoritarianism. And you saw that in our targeting of Prop 50 in California and the Virginia legislature, both of which winning essentially meant making gains against the Republican efforts to redistrict the U.S. House in their favor. And we'll talk a little bit more about redistricting in a minute. Second, the Supreme Court races in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania gave us an important backstop against authoritarianism in these really important battleground states. Winning Virginia and New Jersey governor's races, which often serve as a bellwether for the election to come in the next year. And of course, winning the New York City mayoral race and providing a clear alternative to Trumpism while he tried to exact anti-immigrant policies in New York City, Trump. So in 2025, we spent a lot of our time focusing in this space. We anticipate continuing to do this in 2026. And I'm going to give you just a quick overview of our main objectives. One, flip the House. Have to flip the House. Two, swing for the Senate. Three, win competitive Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Supreme Court races. Four, break up GOP trifectas where we can. And five, gain and retain Democratic trifectas. Again, all of these meant with the idea of making significant change in people's lives and stymieing the spread of authoritarianism. And I'm going to do a brief review of each of these before I hand it over to our speakers who are going to do deeper dives into this. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as we look at the U.S. House, we want to flip the House and gain the largest majority possible. Again, the House has a role in stymieing authoritarianism. By law, budget bills have to originate in the House, having the opportunity to block legislation and the opportunity to initiate investigations. And you can see the targets that we have here, and I'm excited a little bit later for us to hear about the work happening in New Jersey, Alaska, and Battleground Alliance. MVP has been funding work in these states since February of 2025 to hold electorally vulnerable Republicans accountable. This is part of the drumbeat as we head towards November of 2026. This is not an 8-week sprint before the election in November. This began in February of 2025. We're also looking at swinging for the US Senate. And of course, there are some protects that we need to have in the US Senate. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. Here I said, please go back one. I'm sorry. Got all excited about US House redistricting and then forgot to talk about it in depth. So we have been engaged in US House redistricting work. This has been the wild card. We invested in Indiana, New Hampshire, and California in order to stop Republican power grabs and to redistrict in California through Prop 50. We lost in Texas and North Carolina. We have ongoing battles in Virginia, Kansas, Nebraska, and Maryland. And of course, the wild card here as well is in the Supreme Court's Calais case, where the Supreme Court could essentially enable racial gerrymandering by striking down portions of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2. So if that happens, we anticipate Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana are likely at risk for redistricting after that. We are working on a Southern plan in that situation, but of course we have to limit the Republican power grab for the U.S. House in order to keep the U.S. House competitive, which I am confident that we can do. Next slide, please. As we look at the U.S. Senate as well, clearly we need the U.S. Senate to claw back this U.S. Supreme Court to block bad nominations, to block legislation again, having that like legislative goalie. And you can see we've got a variety of targets across the country, several protects, a couple of flips, both in our Tier 1, North Carolina and Maine, and then Tier 2, Alaska, Ohio, Iowa, and Texas. As we move forward into the state races, you heard me say earlier that there are really important competitive secretaries of states races, attorneys general, and state Supreme Courts. And these have a huge role in beating back autocracy through both judicial action by administering elections in a fair and free manner and protecting vulnerable communities. These are all really critical parts to our efforts to limit the spread of authoritarianism. And then the last part, as I mentioned earlier, objectives 4 and 5 are state trifectas. States are the wall against the Trump administration and the implementation of the Trump agenda. So the only place where we have an opportunity this year likely to break up a GOP trifecta is New Hampshire. But we have a lot of opportunities to gain Democratic trifectas across the country as well. And you can see it's Nevada, it's Wisconsin, it's Pennsylvania, so on and so forth. So as we wrap up, you can see there is a lot of overlap in a lot of states and a lot of density in the work that we have to do. We're really excited to have the opportunity to hear from Battleground Alliance around the U.S. House work, and then our work in our Western States Advisor, New Jersey and Alaska. I'll wrap up before I hand this over and introduce Heather Booth by saying that we live and breathe this work here at MVP. We go to sleep thinking about this work. We wake up thinking about this work. There is the commitment that we have to winning and stymieing authoritarianism is significant.